listeners to Broadcasts from Elsewhere, the only podcast where we speak about media you may not hear about elsewhere. My name is Enigma, and I'm your host. And today is another episode of No Way November. In every episode, we're going to be checking out a So Bad They're Good movie and reviewing and recapping it. Today, I'm afraid there is no so good portion to this, because it's pretty terrible, honestly. Today we're checking out 2020's Teenage Vampire, and I mean, it's a pretty basic title already, first of all, so that already kind of tells you, but to give you an idea of what we're looking at, Teenage Vampire is about a girl who becomes a vampire so that she can be a cheerleader and be popular and all that stuff. It's pretty bare bones as far as plot goes, and I really couldn't find too much about it online. It does have a sequel, believe it or not, somehow, and maybe one day I will check that out, but we'll see. There's only one review for both of the movies that I could find on IMDb, and for the first movie it got a 3 stars, and the second movie got 9 stars, so maybe the sequel's actually good, but we'll check that out another day, possibly. Maybe. Today I did want to go ahead and go over the first movie, though, of course. As I said, this one is, as I said earlier, this one is bad. It's not even like that much fun bad, it's just kind of bad. Now, it's not probably, I would say it's probably not as bad as that Hodge movie I had to watch, but it's still pretty bad. It's really bad acting is the main thing. There's a lot of the line delivery just comes off as flat or incorrect. Like there's one scene in the beginning where the girl calls herself like the worst bowler on the team, and then her actress turns and smiles like at one of the other actors, and it's like you're supposed to be sad about that. Not only that, but there's also like some of the props in this movie, but I'll get to that later, because there's a very specific one I want to point out. But it's, personally, I would say this movie is not worth your time, but if for some reason you do want to check it out, it's of course on Tubi for free. Feel free to go check it if you want to, but in all honesty, I'd say skip it. But if you still want to know about it, at least I'm right here for you. So let's get into it, why don't we? Spoilers ahead, of course, but I don't think you'll mind me spoiling this one. As I said, I do not recommend it. So we start out by meeting our 2 main girls here. We have Chase and her best friend, Pam. We meet them in the bowling alley. You see, they bowl on a team. Well, I say it's a team, but in all honesty, I only ever see Pam, Chase, the elderly, not really elderly, but older teammate they have. I think her name was Roberta. I didn't write it down, but she doesn't really say her name a lot in the movie. But anyways, Roberta, and I think maybe one other unnamed lady. I guess that's probably enough for a bowling team, but it just felt pretty low. But it's probably also because of the fact that no one else is in the damn alley. At least that's what it feels like. There's maybe like a couple extras on another lane, and that's it. I mean, there's a guy at the concession booth, I think, and then there's like maybe a few extras playing in one other lane. And that is it. So either this is the worst bowling alley in history, or, more likely, the director, writer, whomever, could not freaking afford to have more people on the set. And I believe that's what it is, because honestly, it just feels awful. Anyways, so they're on this team, the Slayers is the name of it, which is like already, it's like, oh, foreshadowing, look, because it's a vampire movie, guys, you get it? Wow. They're supposedly already on this team, but it doesn't make any sense, because Chase makes a throw after talking about how she's the worst bowler on the team and doing the little smile thing like I said earlier. And God, the way she throws the ball, she takes both hands and like kind of crouches down and just rolls the ball into the lane. And obviously it immediately it goes into the gutter. Because where else would it go? You didn't do anything to it. You just freaking rolled it like a goddamn child. I mean, she is a child, technically a teenager, but she's 16, I think, or something like that. Point is, she's old enough to know. She's old enough to know how to throw a ball. Apparently not. But after that horribly unsuccessful throw, Roberta, I guess she's the team captain, I don't remember if she ever said, but she gifts both her and Pam the team shirt, the Slayers and all that, and they patched their names on it and everything. But the thing I just don't get is like, she just showed why she shouldn't be on this team by doing that. And two, we never saw Pam bowl. Actually, speaking of, we never see Pam bowl in the entire movie, which is funny considering they go back to this bowling alley at least 4 or 5 times in the movie, and we never once see Pam bowl. We only ever see Chase bowl. Thankfully she gets a little better throughout the movie, but still, it's ridiculous. Anyways, after that scene of them getting the shirts, we go back to Chase's home, and I guess it's the next morning now? They never say that the night passed, but now it's morning, so, you know, sure, time skips. This movie is full of cuts, like really awkward and strange cuts, by the way, so it's a little hard to even tell how many days or whatever are going by, because it's just, a scene will just abruptly end. Like, I'll give some examples when we get to them soon here. Anyways, she's at home, and she's rushing out the door because she's, you know, it's a classic I don't have time for breakfast kind of scene, except for, unlike in most other movies, there'd be like a whole ass like Thanksgiving dinner on the table for breakfast. This family's modest, they just have cereal out. But she doesn't have time to eat. She has to get to school for the first day of senior year it is. So she rushes out the door to her best friend Pam again. Her best friend Pam's outside in her car, in Pam's car. So they go in, and while they're driving, they have a little bit of exposition about how last year the coach for the cheer team went missing over the summer, and that the cheer squad has supposedly disbanded out of grief, it would seem. But Chase is determined to join cheer and become popular. So she has this whole thing throughout the movie about like, this year I'm just gonna say yes to everything, because she wants to finally get out of her like unpopularness and whatnot. Because you see, this movie has one of those famous tropes about because they wear glasses, that means they're a nerd and they're unpopular and unattractive. It's so dumb. Anyways, they arrive at school and they see 3 new girls they'd never seen before. And they're all chatting up to this guy who's apparently like the class hottie, it would seem. They call him Sean Patrick, and they never don't call him. He's never not called Sean Patrick. They never just call him Sean. They always have to refer to him by his full fucking name of Sean Patrick. It's like, we get it. We know which one you're talking about. There's only one Sean in this movie, and it's him. We get it. Anyways, the 3 girls are walking away from Sean, I guess, and they bump into Chase, and they say some kind of cunty little thing to her, but it doesn't really matter. Either way, Pam confronts them, and they have a very brief, like, argument, and then the lead girl just fucking starts choking Pam out, like, just full-on choking her. Thankfully, there was someone else nearby, so a teacher comes by and she breaks it up. It turns out that this teacher just so happens to be the cheer captain, the new one. Because we live in a land of conveniences, I suppose. Anyways, after she breaks up the fight, she tells them, cheer tryouts are starting again since I'm the new coach. You girls should try out, she tells them. And after a little bit of Pam, you know, more or less reminding her of her whole say yes attitude, they accept, and they go to their class. By the way, the only class this school seems to have is English, because that is the only class we ever see them take, ever. Also, despite being an AP English senior class, it only has 6 students in it, and is in what may as well be a freaking closet, because it is so fucking small. It's funny, there's a fucking scene where you can see, or several shots I should say, not scene, several shots where you can see the chalkboard behind the teacher, and it's so fucking tiny. It's like if you took one of those, it's like a child's chalkboard that you would have like for them to like play and draw on, basically, is what it felt like. It's maybe the size of like a small like computer monitor or something. That's what it felt like. It was so fucking tiny behind this adult fucking man, and there's this tiny ass chalkboard on the wall. Once again, 6 fucking students in this classroom also. Like, the budget for this movie must have been in the negatives, I feel like. Anyways, they get to class, and Pam still has to talk her into some more about the whole tryouts thing. So, it finally convinces her, like, yes, we're going to tryouts. And it's like, yes, movie, we get it. You're gonna be cheerleaders. Thank you. Didn't need to reiterate that, but we did anyways. So at the tryouts later that day, because we... Also, by the way, that's just where it ends. That's where that scene ends. We just have them in class. It's like, well, we're gonna go to tryouts later, aren't we? Yeah, I don't know. Well, you have to. You said you're gonna say yes. Okay, I guess we'll do it. Scene ends. And then we go to the next scene of them. It's so many scenes are like that. They just end. Just out of nowhere. Anyways. They go to tryouts, and of course those 3 lady bullies that were there in the morning, they were at tryouts as well. And oh god, here's where the weirdest fucking line in this movie is uttered. And I cannot for the life of me understand what the fuck they were thinking when they wrote this. So, Pam is trying to basically pep talk Chase, like to get her, make her feel good about herself, make her feel like she's got this under control, like she's got this audition in the bag, kind of deal, right? Kind of hype her up, basically. And the thing she says to her is, and I quote, "Cheer is easy. If it were any easier, it would be called football." What the fuck does that even mean? Like, you tell me, what in the fuck does that even mean? Football is definitely not easy. Cheer is also not easy. But I would reckon that cheer is a lot easier than football. I mean, granted, you do have to have a little bit more, like balance and whatnot to do cheer, depending on what kind of dance moves you're doing. You might need to be a little bit of a gymnast in some instances. So there's also that. So in fact, neither of them are really easy if you want, devil's advocate. But I would argue that football is definitely not easier than cheer regardless. So football, you still have to be speedy, you have to be strong enough to take hits, you have to give hits as well if you're trying to, break through defense and whatnot. You have to be able to throw and throw far. You have to be able to kick and kick far. To be able to catch, it's still a lot of skill required for that as well. Anyways, after that ridiculous line, we get to see a little montage of everyone trying out. And by trying out, I mean everyone does cartwheels and or jump splits. That is the only move any of these girls know. It is a wonder that any of them get into the cheer squad. And honestly, they all kind of suck. Even the bullies who's, by the way, at this point, their only line basically has just been like, loser, loser. It's like, it's so fucking on the nose, it hurts. After all of that, we finally get done with the auditions, and the coach, famous Coach Rooney, by the way, she tells them that the auditions are over and that she'll have the results posted up outside her office. And either she got that done really quick, or we've fast forwarded to the next day, because they don't tell us though. Because all I know is the next scene is they're looking at the board. It's not even a board, actually. All it is she stapled a piece of paper to the wall outside her office, and that has a list of girls on it. Anyways, we find out that Chase made it in, but Pam did not. However, Pam does get offered to be the assistant to the coach, so she takes her up on that, so that way she can still be, in the same way. in the same area as Chase. After that, we cut again to another scene where we get to see the girls checking out a baseball game there. It looks more like it's baseball practice, I imagine. It doesn't seem like there's an actual game going on. Also, that's another thing. Despite having a little offhand comment about football, there is no football in this movie. There's also no cheering in this movie aside from any kind of aside from that little montage we got. So, I don't know. I don't usually see cheerleaders at a baseball game, but maybe that's a thing? I don't know. I'm not a sports person. Anywho, they're at the baseball practice, and they're watching Sean on the field and whatnot, or on the diamond, I guess. Anywho, the three bullies come up to them and they apologize. So let me hear their names now. We have Cynthia, which is the lead girl, and then she has her friends Lucy and Violet. And to be honest with you, I never figured out which one was which. I know she gestures to them in the scene, but I never bothered to learn which was which because it doesn't fucking matter, because they don't do anything. I don't even think they say anything much in the movie. The only character from the bullies that matters is Cynthia, who also goes by Sin for short. Get it? Because she's gothic, you know? Gotta have the obvious fucking name Sin when you're a freaking vampire chick. Because yes, if it wasn't obvious enough already, of course the bullies are the vampires, but we'll get to that. Anyways, Sin invites them to a party, and they of course accept. And then we immediately cut to them getting ready for the party. Like, there's no natural ending to the scene. It's just, hey, you want to go party? Sure. Psh, snap. Now we're at my house. Sure. So Chase and Pam get ready. But when they're getting ready also, so Chase is brushing her hair, supposedly, but you can tell her hair is already straightened out. It's already, perfect. There's nothing wrong with it, but she's still just, brushing it mindlessly. Which maybe it's a nervous thing. I digress. But then we also see Pam. She's supposed to be putting on lipstick, but she already has lipstick on, so maybe she's already put it on, but then she's still messing with, the thing. She doesn't actually put it to her lips, but she, keeps, holding it towards her lips. She's like, I'm gonna put it on, I'm gonna put it on, I'm gonna put it on, but she never does. It's ridiculous. So they get to the party. We don't even get to see them drive or anything. We just cut immediately to the party after they finish getting ready. And they split up because Pam sees somebody she recognizes. And we see that everyone at this party is wearing, a face mask. It's not for COVID, though. It's because it's initiation night, apparently, as Sin explains to Chase. Which I think this was just their way of getting around the fact that this was probably made in COVID, because it was released in 2020, October of 2020. But a lot of the patrons are just wearing the skull face masks. They like those. It's like those ones that you wear almost like a scarf. I forget what they're called. So Pam takes off, like I said, with her other friends, and she does a little does some kegging with them. And meanwhile, Chase talks with Sin and the other two, and they explain once again, like I said, it's initiation night, so then they offer up this chalice. You see, they get right to the fucking point of this movie. So they immediately explain to her, yeah, it's initiation night, we're vampires, we want to take over the school, and we want you to join us. They lay it out as plainly as I just did for her. There's no beating around the bush. It's just, hey, we're vampires. We want to take over the school. You want to help us, don't you? And they offer her this chalice, which looks like it came from Party City, honestly. It's just a freaking chalice with a bunch of little skulls all around it. It's so obvious that it came from Party City or Spirit Halloween or something. Anyways, they say that this would be the first step to becoming vampires, to drink from this chalice. It's a chalice of blood. And first of all, that's not how vampires work, but sure, whatever. So they eventually, through some chanting and they basically just go Chase, 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 just chant her name a bunch. And and she finally drinks it. So after that, they tell her, like, that's the first step. The second step is going to be your first kill, but we'll get to that later, they say. And then tonight they're going to celebrate. And that's that. And then we go to the next morning. And the next morning she wakes up in her bed, and she feels kind of like she's got like a massive headache and stuff, so she feels like she's probably hungover as well, I would imagine. She walks into the bathroom and she can see her reflection is beginning to fade. But don't worry, this will never come back. Her reflection fades for a little bit in the mirror this time, and eventually gets like normal. And then she never has trouble with her reflection anywhere else in the movie. So, like, you know, continuity. What's that? Anywho, she puts on some sunglasses, I guess because of her headache. Maybe she thinks it's gonna help with, like, the sunglasses. Anyways, because I have heard about that helping a bit when, like, if you're hungover, like, you're sensitive to light, so maybe that's what she thought was going on. She goes into the dining room with her sunglasses, and then we see the worst freaking prop in this movie to me. You see the brother, who I forgot to mention earlier, but he's not really important until now, so it doesn't really matter. But he's like another, like, nerdy kid who basically all he reads is comic books, it seems. That's how they would treat him. And the comic book that he's reading when she walks in says, How to Spot a Vampire. And the cover of it is literally a person wearing sunglasses. Now the prop I'm talking about is this comic book, because it is very clearly, like, it looks like somebody on the crew just drew up a comic book and then colored it in, and then stapled that page to a real comic book or something, because that's what it looks like. Because it's, you can tell it's like hand colored and everything, like by like crayons or something. It's so freaking awful. You can even tell also on the titling, the How to Spot a Vampire, the logo design, you can tell it's just they took one of the freaking, what do you call it? Those little things you can get that help you color in fonts and whatnot and draw different fonts. I can't remember the name of it, but you know what I'm talking about, I hope. A stencil. A stencil, that's it. You can tell they just took a stencil and made the letters with one of the special fonts on the stencil. It's so freaking unbelievable. Props are supposed to look believable. You're supposed to look at that and say, that could be real. I can't do that. You cannot suspend disbelief by looking at that. Anyways, I'm rambling. Anyways, after that, we immediately go to the English class, because once again, English is the only class we teach here. The teacher is passing back the test that they had taken, and he gets a paper cut when he hands back Chase her test, and when he bleeds, it just kind of like triggers her fangs, and she gets all scared and she runs out to the bathroom. So she gets to the bathroom, so this triggers her fangs, and she has to run off to, I assume, the bathroom. We don't know, because they don't show us. Because after she runs out, we just get another cut to later that day, when they're at cheer practice. Not that it matters, though, because like, nothing happens in this scene. It's literally just Pam talking to the coach, who gives her some kind of BS reasoning as per why they do their training in the evening rather than just after school, which is also kind of a pointless little subsection of this. It's like, yes, I understand they're vampires, of course they're going to be doing it after class or after late at night because of the fact that they're vampires. However, clearly the sun doesn't fucking do anything to them, as it was the morning of the first day of school, and all three of the girls were over there flirting their little heads off to Sean Patrick, and they weren't getting burned alive, and doesn't matter. Anyways, they go to the bowling alley, I assume in the same night as practice. It's never stated, but we see Chase and Pam, and they're practicing, and Chase is getting a lot better. Rather, I should just say Chase is practicing, because Pam doesn't do jack shit, again, as far as bowling goes. Anyways, Chase is able to do an actual real throw and makes a spare, And then we get to see Sean and the 3 girls, 3 bullies, come in. And Sean ends up asking Chase to teach him how to bowl. And of course Chase has like a big crush on him, so she of course accepts. And you know, that scene was also very pointless because then we go to another cut. And now Chase and Sam are in Chase's kitchen. And they're talking for a little bit, and then they go upstairs to get ready for another party. Not that it matters, because then we cut again to them at a liquor store where they're trying to get booze so that they can go to the party with the booze. Chase gets a bottle of vodka, and she does this like demonic, you know, stereotypical demonic voice and scares the clerk so that he doesn't ask for ID, and also really doesn't ask for money. She just takes the vodka, and then they go to the party, and they start to play spin the bottle, and Chase spins the bottle, and it lands on Sean, and right as they're about to kiss, Sin does something. She kind of just like yells, or like yelps, and they stop their kiss, and then they just kind of leave and walk away, and they talk for a bit, and they almost kiss, and there's a really awkwardly long shot of where Sean is leaning in for a kiss. Like he's got his eyes closed and got his lips all puckered, and he's waiting for her to kiss him because they did a talk, and they're like, well, why don't we try that kiss again? You know, and they do like all that shit, and they almost do, but then we see her fangs come out, right? So she got triggered somehow, I guess by seeing his neck, probably. She keeps looking at his neck. Anyways, and there's a really awkwardly long shot of where she's like inching towards his neck with her fangs out, and he's like trying to lean in for the kiss, waiting and waiting and waiting, and she keeps just like very slowly inching towards his neck with the fangs, and just goes on for way longer than it needed to. And she ends up she gets really close, and then finally just gives him a hug, and and that's it. So she doesn't kiss him, and she just runs off to the bathroom. But Pam sees her run to the bathroom and goes in after her. And now Chase can see her freaking reflection just fine. She has no problem. Like I said, it didn't even matter that we saw her do it in the first place. It's like we knew she was a vampire. We already established that. We didn't really need the shot about her freaking reflection not working if you're not going to use it. There's no point to that. Regardless, Pam now learns that Chase is a vampire, and that's it. Then we go next. I guess it's the next day. Again, I can't fucking tell because there's so many goddamn cuts. Anywho, at the school, we see some student. She's hanging up a missing poster, and when Chase sees the missing poster, it somehow triggers her fangs, and she has to run off again. Then we go again with another cut. This movie has no editing quality whatsoever. But at the home, she now has miraculously learned how to control her fangs after having 3 or 4 freakouts where she couldn't control her fangs and they just popped out and she had to run away like a little bitch. No, now she knows how to control her fangs suddenly. Because why not? Anywho, she shows off to Pam for a little bit in her bedroom, and once again, she's looking in the mirror. Once again, she can see herself, because, again, continuity doesn't fucking matter, apparently, with that kind of stuff. Anything to do with an actual vampire in this movie doesn't make sense, which is very bad for a movie called Teenage Vampire. You'd think they would at least have a grasp on that part, but no. Anyways, she practices and shows off her fangs, and of course her brother is passing by. His name is Dean, by the way, I don't think I said that earlier. Dean passes by and happens to see her posing in front of her mirror with her fangs and stuff, and he gets all scared and like, oh, don't eat me, I'm your brother, blah, blah, blah. But But there was really no point to that either, because she just kind of tells him like, "Hey, don't worry about it. I'm not evil or whatever." And then we cut to another scene. So we then get to see at baseball practice. After practice is over, Chase and Sean are talking, and they agree to go on a date. And I guess they had nothing better to do because they immediately go on that date. So they go to the diner, and of course, Sin and her cronies are there. So they interrupt it, and Sin makes this big speech about like Chase's loyalty to the cheer squad and how somehow this date will affect that. Honestly, it's just Sin trying to keep her away from Sean because she wants Sean for real. So, you know, petty high school bullshit, as per usual. But Chase and Sean end their date kind of early after Sin leaves with her cronies. But of course, that's not the end of it, because Sin follows Chase home and then takes her back to the school where the other two are waiting. Then they have her stand guard while Sin and her cronies, they go inside to the school, and they attack and kill the janitor. And I can't even enjoy that kill because it's stupid. After that pointless BS, we see some different bullies now. We're out by the baseball area again, by the diamond, and we see there's some bullies there picking on Dean. I just want to say here though that the bully they have in this scene is so very obviously an adult man, because it's just to give you a visual point of reference. If you watch any YouTube at all, you might be familiar with the creator Gus Johnson. I used to watch him a little bit here and there, plus he used to appear on Eddie Burbach's stuff every now and again. Anyways, if you've ever seen him, or if not, just look him up. That's what this bully looks like. He looks almost exactly like Gus Johnson. So, anyways, this very adult man is picking on Dean, but lo and behold, Sean and Chase are right there, so Sean steps up and basically tells them off, and after he chases them away, he turns to Dean and tells him, "Here's my phone number. If you ever have any trouble with guys like that or anything else, just give me a call." And while this scene is not entirely pointless, it does end, once again, extremely early, because almost immediately after he gives his phone number to Dean, we cut to another scene. Later this night, we see that Sin's getting in an argument with the coach, and she decides she's gonna be petty about this shit, and she tells Chase that she wants her to steal the coach's trophy, because you see the coach was showing off this trophy that she had won several years ago, apparently, for cheerleading when she was a cheerer, I guess. Anyways, they tell Chase that she needs to go in to steal that trophy to get back at the coach. So meanwhile, while she starts to do that plan, Pam goes ahead and leaves because there's a bowling tournament that day. So she heads off to the bowling alley, tells Chase that she better meet her there and that she better be on time. So, but Chase is in the office trying to steal that trophy, but she gets caught by the coach. The coach kicks her off the team, but as she's leaving the office, Sin stops her and tells her, if you were a full vampire, you wouldn't have to worry about getting kicked from the team, basically, because you could always, manipulate and all that stuff. But she tells her, I can make you a full vampire and I can get you back on this team. But to be a full vampire, you have to make your first kill. And she tells her, I want you to kill Pam for your first kill. That way then you can become a real vampire and join us. Chase tells her that she can't do that. She declines because, Pam's her best friend. So she doesn't want to do that. But they basically end up not giving her a choice at all anyways, as they just kidnap her after she declines. And we're told that they're going to take her back to Sin's place. We then cut to a scene in the bowling alley where, because of the fact that Chase never showed up, they ended up forfeiting their win, their competition, and the other team wins by default for the bowling tournament. And Dean was there too, I guess just to watch them play, apparently? Who knows? Anyways, they walk outside, her and Dean, and they have a little chit-chat for a brief second before the girls, the vampire girls, come by and kidnap Pam as well and run off with her. So Dean, since he got Sean's number last, or who knows when, because, again, time's irrelevant in this movie, but since he has his number, and he did say to call him if he had trouble, he calls up Sean, and Sean comes by and picks him up. Dean explains to him the whole vampire thing. Of course, Sean is not believing him at first, but he drives him anyways to Dean's house, and they go back to his house, and Dean shows him an old yearbook. I'm assuming it's his parents' yearbook. Anyways, and in that yearbook they see the three girls, Sin, Lucy, and what is his name? Valerie? No, Violet. Sorry, Violet. See, that's how forgettable those characters are. I don't even remember their names. I had to look back at my notes to remember their names. Anyways, they see the picture, and of course, since it's been like 20 years since that picture was taken, and they're still teenagers, they obviously know that yes, they are indeed vampires. They also somehow discern from this photograph that Sin is their lead vampire, which is honestly just kind of obvious. You could have guessed that without looking at a picture. But this picture has nothing to do with that. It's literally just the three of them in a photo. Yes, Sin is front and center, but that doesn't really make a difference in a photograph, Like, not everyone in the front of a photograph is a leader. Like, if you took a selfie with you and your best friend, that doesn't make you a leader because you're in the front of the photograph. Like, you're in the foreground. That's not how this works. Now that they've learned that, they plan they're going to go to Sin's house and rescue Pam and Chase. So, while they start to gear up, we get to see Chase and Pam. They're tied up at Sin's place, of course. They're tied up back to back in chairs, but they're outside for some reason. Doesn't matter. But the girls come up and they take away Pam, they untie her and take her away. They leave Chase there by herself, tied to her chair. So, and this is the only time where Lucy and Violet actually have some lines here as they go. They tell Pam that they could make her a vampire instead, and all she'd have to do is kill Chase, and she'll be a full vampire, then she'll be popular and on the cheer squad and everything. So they offer that, and then we get to cut again to see Dean and Sean are prepping up for their, I guess, storming of Sin's place, and they do some interesting things here actually. So they have some giant stakes that I guess were just laying around in the garage apparently, and they coat them in garlic powder, supposedly because it makes it easier to stab the vampires, which I don't see how that makes any sense, but regardless. And we also see Dean takes out several bottles of holy water. Like, he has a whole jug of holy water, and then like a little tiny like flask of holy water, and just like a water bottle that's full of holy water. Apparently one of his relatives is like a super devout religious woman, so he gets a bunch of holy water from her, like, regularly. And this part I do really like here is they take the holy water and they load it into a water gun to squirt the vampires with it that way. And I think that's a smart idea, honestly. That is a great idea. That was one of the only great ideas from this movie. So that's high praise. We love the bare minimum around here. We truly do. So then we get back to Sin's place, and she's outside with Chase. Sin is outside with Chase, telling her like that Pam's already accepted our deal. She's gonna kill you. She's gonna be a vampire instead of you. While that's happening, the boys we see, they arrive on scene with their fucking warp speed or whatever, because they're fucking already here somehow. And they run around trying to find the people. They see a pool. They're like, oh, this is a perfect place for a trap. And they just take one of the flasks of holy water and just dump the whole thing, pour the whole thing inside the pool, and then just throw the bottle in there too. And then they had some rosary beads that they had taken with them as well. They just throw them in the water, and that's apparently a trap. Sure, why not? I would think if anything that would just dilute the holy water and make it less effective, especially considering it's in not just a regular water, but in a pool where there's chlorine and whatever else in it. But sure. Anyways, while they're doing that stupid shit, Pam comes out with the rest of the girls, the two girls, and they give her a knife. And they clarify that it's a silver knife because silver kills vampires. First of all, pretty sure it doesn't. Pretty sure that's werewolves, and that's bullets, silver bullets. Either way, they give her the silver knife to finish off Chase and tell her, finish her off, you'll become one of us, you know, blah yada. Already got past that, you know? But Pam, instead of killing her, cuts her restraints free with the knife. And then we get to see a little fighting montage kind of thing going on with everyone fighting each other. So, the boys happen upon them now. So Dean and Pam kill one of the goons, and then Sam and Chase kill another one, kill the other goon, and that's just Sin. And after Sean and Chase, after they kill their vampire, there's this really long, drawn-out scene of the two of them kissing. It's like making out and whatnot. It's like, guys, we don't need to see that. Like, come on. We get it. They're in love. They don't need to have a big fucking makeout session. Just a kiss will be fine. Anyways, they hear Sin scream somewhere, and the four of them head off towards her. And then we have another kind of drawn-out scene where we keep seeing from different angles where it's the different characters looking at each other and glaring at each other in a real fucking stare-off or whatever. And eventually they finally take her on, and they all get knocked on their asses. Of course. Then Chase grabs 2 stakes and starts to fight her. But for some reason, she hands Sin one of these stakes, and they start to sword fight with them. I just don't even know what the fuck to do about that. But they dance around and sword fight for a little bit until Chase finally able to sneak around and get behind Sin. And then she stabs her straight through the back and out the chest with the stake, killing her. And now, out of the fucking blue, Coach Rooney appears as they're trying to leave the house. And we learn that Coach Rooney was also a vampire and was in on this the whole time. We find out that the trophy that she's for some reason brought along with her, by the way, was actually an old silver cross that she had melted down and put into a trophy mold so it could no longer hurt her, because that cross would be one of the things that could kill her. And it's such a good thing that you brought that trophy with you. They're able to get it away from her, and after some little bit of complications and whatnot, Chase is able to get up behind her and stab her through the chest with this trophy. How do you stab somebody with a trophy? You fucking got me, because I don't fucking know. Because it's a pretty standard looking trophy. It's like the little trophy cup, and it's got a girl, it's got one of those little, like, actually it's just a girl, it's just one girl just kind of on it, like, I don't know. Point is, stab her through the chest with that, and it's so dumb. But the crazy thing to me is the way they distract her to stab her, is that we have yet another random fucking character come out of nowhere. Roberta, the team captain from earlier from the bowling team, just fucking comes onto the scene waving around her bowling ball, just out of fucking nowhere, and then she stabs her with the trophy. Chase stabs her with the trophy, and we're done. That's it. That's the end of Coach Rooney, and that's all the vampires are dead now, right? So Coach was the lead vamp and everything too, so everyone should be back to normal, right? That's what you'd think, okay? Right? So then you see the next day, Dean goes practice with the girls, and we get to see a brief shot, a little freeze frame shot, where the girls turn to the camera and they bare their fangs. How the fuck are they still vampires? You killed the lead one. There's no vampires alive. Then again, maybe there are. I don't fucking know. It's got a sequel somehow after all. That's the end of the movie. That's it. This movie was just awful. It was shit. It was pure shit. If you you don't want to watch this. I'm sorry, but it's not good. It's not torturous, but it's not fun to watch. I mean, maybe it is if you get a little drunk or something and have some friends and get them all over and they all make fun of it. Sure, you might have some fun then. But if you're just looking for a nice movie to watch one night, we have some laughs, this isn't it. Especially if you're like nitpicky like I am. You're just gonna sit there screaming at it and being like, what the fuck is going on? It's so bad, and I will never watch it ever again. I may check out the sequel on a later date, but that's to be seen. Maybe that can be on next year's No Way November. Other than that, that is it for this movie. And thank whatever gods may be for that, because oh my god. Anyways, we have one more episode of No Way November coming up. I got 2 bonus episodes I'm gonna post in December for some bonus No Way November episodes. And then after that first week of December, we're going to get into Christmas movies. These ones will also be either obscure, cult classic, or bad Christmas movies. And I have a schedule that I will be posting. We're going to be uploading every Monday and Saturday from here on out. That is just the schedule that works the best for me, and it seems to work pretty well for views as well, so I will not complain. Next time, on Monday, we're going to be looking at Ed and His Dead Mother. That's the next movie on our docket. And I will say I have seen this one before, and I liked it, and I think you guys may as well. So, if you want to before the next episode comes out, go on Tubi and check out Ed and His Dead Mother. And if you want to check out the movie we talked about today, that's Teenage Vampire, also on Tubi. But I highly recommend that you check out Ed and His Dead Mother instead, because Teenage Vampire is not worth your time. Speaking of time, thank you for listening. It means so much that you spent all this time listening to me and all my ramblings and complainings. If you like this kind of content, be sure to follow for more. Be sure to follow me on Twitter at BFE Podcasts, where you can see updates and schedules. And if there's ever a time where I'll be late posting something, or if there's anything else that comes up, I will be sure to post on there to alert anyone who may be following. But be sure to share this podcast with someone you love as well if you know somebody else who likes weird or obscure movies, looking at cult classics as well. So when we're not doing No Way November, we still want to look at some movies that are obscure, some movies that are still bad, and also if we're looking at just cult classics or just anything really. If you know somebody who might be interested in this podcast, be sure to show them this. But that's all I've got for you today. Thank you so much for listening, and my name is Enigma. I'll be signing off. You have a great rest of your day, guys.